It started with a sound that made the earth itself feel alive, a deep, rumbling splash from the river, followed by a roar that could shake the marrow of your bones. The dirt road twisted like a serpent along the riverbank, swallowed in the heavy dusk. A single truck's headlights cut through the fog, revealing a shadow so massive it seemed to block out the world. The driver squinted through the windshield. At first, he thought it was just another Hippo crossing, a common risk on roads like this. But then she turned. Her ears flared, her jaws gaped wide enough to swallow a man whole, and then she charged. Mud flew like shrapnel as the giant body slammed forward. The truck's brakes screamed, tires grinding into the wet dirt. The driver shouted, gripping the wheel as the vehicle rocked from the impact. Then silence. Somewhere in the reeds, the river gurgled as if mocking them. What was she protecting that could make her risk everything against a machine? Dawn came slow to the African river valley, painting the mist in pale gold. The river breathed quietly, wide and patient, but it carried the heavy smell of wet earth and danger. This stretch of road was the lifeline for half a dozen villages, carrying food, medicine, and hope. On one side, thick reeds bristled like spears. On the other, the river glinted, hiding everything just below its surface. Local drivers knew this place well and feared it. Hippos ruled these waters, and though they spent most of their time submerged, everyone knew that when they decided to come out, they owned the land too. The man behind the wheel that night was no stranger to this truth. He had grown up near this river, delivered supplies here for years. He had seen hippos before, but something about this one felt different. She wasn't just crossing, she was standing her ground, and no one yet knew why. The truck's engine idled, rattling like a nervous heart. Ahead of it, the Hippo stood like a living wall, her massive body heaving, nostrils flaring. She retreated a few steps but didn't leave the road. The driver dared to roll down the window, listening. That's when he heard it. Faint, broken squeals, barely louder than the hiss of the river. He grabbed the spotlight and swept it toward the sound. There, in the mud near the riverbank, something moved. A calf. Tiny, helpless, barely visible through the reeds. Its small body was half submerged in black sludge, its legs kicking weakly as it tried to free itself. Every movement dragged it deeper. This wasn't an ambush. This was a plea. The hippo's grunts now sounded almost like cries, her huge head swinging back and forth, as if urging someone to see what she was guarding. But stepping closer would mean walking into the territory of one of the deadliest animals in Africa. The driver's hands shook as he grabbed his radio, calling nearby villagers and rangers. If they didn't act soon, the calf would drown or suffocate. But no one rushed forward. Everyone knew the risk. Hippos kill more people every year than lions and crocodiles combined. They are faster than they look, faster than a man can run. And tonight, this one was ready to kill to defend her calf. Minutes felt like hours as the group debated. The calf's cries grew weaker, softer. Each sound was like a knife in the air. Finally, a plan was made. Two brave villagers would distract the mother from a safe distance, waving torches and shouting, while others crept in with ropes to pull the calf free. The chorus of frogs fell silent, as though the entire river was holding its breath. The rescuers crouched low, headlamps glowing like tiny stars, ready to risk everything. But the moment they stepped forward, the reeds exploded. The mother charged again. Everything became chaos. The rescuers scattered as the colossal figure barreled toward them, jaws snapping. The driver slammed the truck horn, using the noise to draw her attention. It worked, for a heartbeat. The hippo swung toward the truck, giving two men just enough time to sprint toward the trapped calf. One threw a rope, the other knelt in the mud, tying it around the tiny body. The calf kicked frantically, nearly knocking him off balance. "Pull!" someone shouted. They heaved with all their strength, mud sucking at their feet, but the calf wouldn't budge. Then the rope slipped. The calf screamed. The mother roared, wheeling around so fast it looked like the earth itself had shifted. If she reached them now, there would be no escape. Darkness closed in like a fist. Headlights flickered, casting ghostly shadows that danced on the water. The rescuers' courage began to waver. The mother hippo was relentless, circling like a tank, her body shining with river water. She had been fighting for hours, She was exhausted, but more dangerous than ever. Mosquitoes swarmed. Sweat stung their eyes. One man slipped, twisting his ankle with a cry. The driver gritted his teeth. How much longer could they risk this? Then the calf went silent. The night seemed to freeze. In that silence, everyone knew. If they didn't act now, there would be nothing left to save. This would be their final attempt. And this time, they would do it in total darkness. This time, they did not chase her away. They stayed back, torches low, waiting. Slowly, the mother stopped circling. Her sides heaved with each breath, mist rising from her nostrils. One ranger, heart hammering, stepped forward alone. He spoke softly, not words, just a low, calm sound, showing his hands in the light. The mother watched him. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then she stopped advancing. She didn't back away, but she didn't attack either. It was as though she understood. Now they had one chance, and only one, to save the calf. The ranger waded into the muck, water up to his waist, feeling blindly for where the calf was trapped. His fingers found the suction mud gripping its legs. He shouted for the rope. 3 men grabbed it, pulling as he pushed from beneath. The calf cried out, a small, desperate sound, and the mother answered, trumpeting so loudly it rattled the truck's windows. But she did not charge. With one final pull, the calf came free, collapsing on its side in the shallows. The headlights caught the moment perfectly. The tiny creature trembling, coated in mud, blinking against the glare of the lights. The rescuers staggered back, hearts pounding. Now everything depended on what the mother would do next. No one moved. The mother approached, water dripping from her tusks. She sniffed the calf, then nudged it with her enormous head until it staggered to its feet. A sound escaped the crowd, half sob, half cheer, as the calf took a few unsteady steps, then pressed itself against its mother's side. Slowly, silently, she led it back toward the river, their shapes melting into the reeds. The road was empty again, but the night would never feel the same. For hours, a truckload of medicine, a line of villagers, and the very rhythm of the river had been forced to stop for one calf's life. Hippos are feared for their strength, their aggression. But tonight, this mother had shown something else, something stronger than rage, love. She had fought the entire world to give her calf another chance, and as the first light of dawn spilled over the river, it felt as though the whole earth was exhaling. Imagine being there, standing in the dark, knowing one wrong step could have cost you everything. Would you have stepped forward? Because that night they did, and because of it, a calf lived and a mother swam away with her heart whole again. When the hippos vanished into the reeds, the world seemed to hold its breath. No one moved for a full minute, as if even the wind was too afraid to break the moment. The headlights still illuminated the churned mud, the deep tracks where the mother had charged. The driver shut off the engine, and for the first time all night, there was silence. But it was not a peaceful silence. It was the kind that leaves your chest tight, your mind racing. What had they just witnessed? The truck driver sat on the step of his cab, wiping the sweat from his face with shaking hands. His heart was still hammering like a drum. "I thought I was dead," he muttered, voice barely above a whisper. "When she charged the first time, I thought that was it." But fear was slowly giving way to awe. He realized he had not just survived a hippo attack. He had been part of something miraculous. Would he ever see anything like this again in his lifetime? By now, dozens of villagers had arrived. Some had seen everything. Others had only heard the roars from miles away and rushed to see what happened. They huddled near the trucks, talking in hushed, reverent voices. One elder said softly, "This river will remember tonight. She trusted us." The villagers decided to mark the place with stones, a reminder for travelers that this was no ordinary crossing. A legend was being born before their eyes. The rangers stayed behind longer, inspecting the ground, noting the tracks and the location. This was not just a rescue. It was a moment that challenged everything they knew about hippos. "She could have killed us all," one ranger said, "but she didn't. She gave us space." They would later write about this night in their report, urging the government to put up warning signs and designate the crossing as a protected area. The rescue had turned into something bigger, a chance to change how humans and wildlife shared this road. 2 days later, the rangers spotted the same pair again, the mother and her calf grazing peacefully on the far bank of the river. The calf looked stronger already, standing close to its mother, tail swishing as it fed. From a distance, the rangers watched in silence, cameras capturing the moment. The mother glanced their way, and for a heartbeat, it felt like she remembered them. She didn't charge this time. She simply turned back to the water, calm, protective, but at peace. The people who had been there that night said they could never drive that road the same way again. Some drivers even began carrying water buckets and fruit in their trucks, just in case they encountered wildlife in trouble. "It wasn't just her calf we saved," one villager said quietly. "She saved us too, from forgetting what life is worth." The memory of that night became a story told around fires, passed from family to family. Word of the rescue spread beyond the village. Photos and videos of the event reached local news. Then international outlets picked it up. "Mother Hippo stops highway traffic to save baby" became a headline that circled the globe. Comments poured in from thousands of people who said they cried watching the footage. The world, for one brief moment, seemed united by a single story of hope. Weeks later, one of the rangers returned to the crossing at dawn, standing quietly by the river. Mist rose from the water, birds called in the trees. For a long time there was nothing. Then, just as the sun broke over the horizon, 2 dark shapes appeared in the water, a mother and a calf. They watched him from a distance. He raised his hand in silent greeting. Then they slipped back beneath the surface. It felt like a farewell. Over time, drivers slowed down near that crossing. The villagers placed a carved sign with a painting of a hippo and her calf, reminding everyone to be careful. Children pointed it out whenever they passed. The river had always been dangerous, but now it was something else too. It was sacred ground. And so, the story ends where it began, with a mother who stood against the world to save her child. For hours, she risked her life, faced down machines, men, and fear itself, and won. Her courage forced humans to see her not as a threat, but as a mother. And maybe that was her greatest victory. As the narrator's voice softens, if the fiercest creature in the river can stop to show mercy, maybe we can too. The camera pulls back, revealing the river stretching into infinity. Quiet, timeless, holding its secrets. Fade to black.